Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay, I think we're good now. I just closed the app and redid it. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What is your overall impression of the conference? What stood out to you the most about the event?
So I think the event went really well. It was interesting to see the amount of developments in the Cosmos infrastructure in terms of account abstraction or smarter wallets, or even just like doing more types of validators. There's more interesting things with developer tooling and uh, applications for people to build new applications on top. There wasn't as much on the end apps themselves. So I think there's opportunities there, and it should be interesting to see like how more applications are created, right? Like things like NFTs and new DeFi primitives or expansions of existing DeFi primitives. So I would say like the biggest positive thing of the conference was that there was a lot on the core infrastructure and the foundational layer and on the scaling. And then I think something that was not so good that was kind of missing was more on the applications, like the games and the different things that end users will end up using.
Got you. Well, did you spot any key trends or narratives within the Cosmos space that you found particularly noteworthy to share with our community?
Validating or being a validator is definitely a very big trend right now. Whether it's like you're a company that does validating as a service, right? So validators as a service is very big, or even if you're just an individual and you have assets and you want to activate the potential of those assets, you can stake them. And so almost any asset in the Cosmos ecosystem can be staked for an API like Osmo or Injective. So I think that there's opportunities there to be involved as an individual that's beyond just like buying and holding. And then there's also the communities.
Interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the validator side? Like validator have always been there. Like what makes them more, I guess, more popular now in the space now than ever?
I would say the trend of liquid staking is what makes it most popular now because before, when you would stake with a validator, it'd be locked up for a long period of time. And so it was very cumbersome and very difficult, and it freezes your assets while you're doing the staking or the validating. But now, because of these new technological innovations around liquid staking, you're able to stake a token, but then you get a receipt of that token, and that receipt you can go and do other things with it. You can go and lend it, or you can collateralize and borrow against it, or you can even give it away or use it to pay for something, or you can stake it again into somewhere else. So there's like layers of staking, like derivative staking, there's leverage staking. So there's all these new things that you can do with your assets. So it's not like it's going away. And then when you cash out, it's usually a lot faster than how it was before. We have to wait like for a cooldown period, or you have to wait for an unlock period. So it's definitely making it a lot more accessible and a lot less risky because there's a lot less of a time commitment when you choose to be a validator or stake with a validator.
Yeah, I hear you. Liquid staking is definitely a trending topic. For newcomers, can you recommend some, I guess, successful protocols that offers liquid staking opportunity for people to get started with? And also feel free to share your thoughts on them.
I think right now Stride is the biggest in the Cosmos ecosystem. There's Stride and P-Stake that I think are two pretty good liquid staking providers. They were there. They were present at the conference. They had booths, so people got to ask them questions. They have like some new developments coming up. In Ethereum, right, the largest is Lido, Lido and Rocket Pool, and that's for like ETH staking. But I think there's many more opportunities in Cosmos, like I had mentioned, Stride and P-Stake.
Yeah, Stride is one of the big names out there. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. Apart from Stride, what other popular projects in this space? Like what are the narratives about the popular projects such as Evmos, Kava, Saint Network, etc.?
Definitely on the smart contract side, there's more tooling for making it easier to deploy smart contracts, especially from the EVM ecosystem. Like you mentioned Evmos, and so right, making it easy for people to make contracts in Solidity, which at this point in the blockchain space, there's a lot of libraries that are written in Solidity. There's a lot of contracts that have already been made in Solidity. So by giving developers the opportunity to deploy Solidity contracts in the Cosmos ecosystem that can bring a lot of new types of applications in languages that blockchain developers are more familiar with. At the same time, there's also tools for deploying on the WASM, right, the WebAssembly VM. And so there's, that's in JavaScript or in Python. So those are languages that, or Rust. So like those are languages that way more developers know, like from the traditional world. So there's a lot of opportunity here from both sides to just onboard a whole new wave of developers that are interested in building applications because we have more advanced tools and guides and resources for them to make it easier for them to do that.
I definitely get the impression that the key factor contributing to the success, especially for layer one in the Cosmos space, is the ability to onboard developers and expand the ecosystem. Did you get any inspirations regarding us as an Nibiru chain? How do we expand our ecosystem and how do we onboard new developers to compete with other layer ones in Cosmos?
I think definitely the biggest thing is the developer support. So with the projects that I've met that we've been following up with and putting through the Nibiru partnership pipeline, being able to hop on the phone with them and then guide them through any questions that they have definitely makes us stand apart compared to like other chains where there's not really any kind of guidance. It's just like, here's our docs, like go do it. I think what we've done really well is hopping on the phone with these potential partners or even like somebody who's working on a new project. Like there was the hackathon and we were mentors at the hackathon. We had a prize at the hackathon. But yeah, no amount of documentation or video tutorials is going to fully replace just being able to ask a question in the chat or hop on the call if there's some issue with like integration that they need some help on. And so I think we're really prioritizing that because we want the projects that work with us to like enjoy working with us, and we want them to be able to make the deployment and not run into like constant issues that they can't solve.
Got you, got you. Are there any other exciting projects, maybe smaller, maybe newer projects, but with very promising future that you have probably observed during the conference this time?
So I really like Cosmos Millions. They were there at the they were there and they did this project that was launching kind of like a no loss lottery like Pool Together has, but it with the staking rewards that people earn, it gets put into a pool, and then so somebody wins like each period, so like each week or however they divide it up. But basically, you can join this project, and there's chances, right? There's like loot boxes or like a randomized chance that you might win. You might win like a big payout. You might win the jackpot. So that's an interesting way of getting people to like save and to not just like trade or overextend themselves. Just like take your stake it, hold it there, and then you get rewarded for saving. And I've seen that, we've seen that in the Ethereum ecosystem. We've seen that in like banking and like there's people with like savings accounts where you get rewarded for saving. So I think that was definitely an interesting immediate use case that was there. And people were like talking about them, like they seem to be getting a lot of traction.
Yeah. You also hosted one of the bounty tracks at Hackmos, right? So that's one of the hackathons organized by Cosmoverse team as well. Do you want to share with our community how did it go?
Yeah, we did a bounty for building on our chain, and we ended up with a very interesting winner. So the winner, called Crossland, was looking at doing cross platform liquidations from different blockchains, and that ended up working out really well because they integrated multiple different chains. So now you can execute liquidations across different chains. You can keep track of them, and kind of it helps bridge the liquidity across, right? Because as another thing is that with fragmented liquidity becomes an issue if you have a bunch of different blockchains, each one with their own small amounts of liquidity. There needs to be good ways to tap into all of it across the different chains and be able to make it more seamless for people to experience.
Mm-hmm. And in addition, were there any specific sessions, panels, or speakers at Cosmoverse that you found really insightful or influential in shaping your understanding of the Cosmos ecosystem?
Sunny from Osmosis gave a good talk. So Sunny was talking about the next iteration of Osmosis and how they've been focusing a lot on bridging liquidity together. Now they want to focus more on the wallet experience. So he made a lot of announcements around account abstraction and the way that the wallet's going to be upgraded to create new kinds of accounts. Where right now, if you set up a wallet, you get your public address and you get your private key, and that's kind of like your username and password, but it's very limited because you can't change that private key without changing your public address, right? Which is not how is not what people are used to. People are used to like a username, password, and if you want to change your password, you can change your password and you keep the same username. So they're making a lot of advancements around that and making wallets smarter. And I thought that was pretty cool because if you can make wallets smarter, then it become easier to use. Like imagine a crypto wallet where you can change the private key. So you don't have to worry about that. And then if you lose it, maybe there's like recovery mechanisms, like a forgot password link, or being able to get your, through social recovery methods. So I think there's a lot to be done there, and it definitely looks like Sunny and Osmosis are taking a good lead on that. And so that talk was definitely very insightful.
Understood. You mentioned bridging liquidity. That is definitely one of the biggest topics right now. Why is bridging liquidity so important? And are there some successful examples of bridging liquidity from other ecosystem? And what should we be, I guess, looking forward to next?
I think we'll see more projects bridging liquidity, which would be very good. And the reason being that it gives you the best rates. Like if you have fragmented liquidity and you want to, like, say, purchase a specific token, then if the liquidity is too low, you won't be able to fill that order. So you can only buy small amounts at a time, and the exchange rates might be different across different chains depending on which ones have more liquidity. So bringing the liquidity together helps with like aggregating all of it, so you can kind of get the best deal. Like if you want to buy some Atom tokens or buy Osmosis tokens or Nimby tokens to get the best deal across all the different chains, depending on which one has the most liquidity, or even like split up the order across different chains so that you get the best deal. Like the more infrastructure is built around that, the better the whole space becomes because you can kind of, yeah, I mean, you pool the resources together.
So bringing liquidity deepens market and basically make the pricing more favorable to users. One of our core products is Nibi Perps. Can you share with us what kind of initiatives are we taking to bring more liquidities onto Nibiru?
So we're adding more features. We just partnered with Warp Protocol, and so Warp Protocol is deploying the ability to do limit orders, which should add for like more flexibility when people are doing their perp trading strategies, or if they want to, yeah, like if they wanted to execute at later times, they do like a lot of automation. So we're making the platform as easy to use as possible, and also adding more functionality for more types of trading strategies. And the feedback we've gotten on that has been very good. Like people really like our perps platform. They like the UI, they like the features, they like the simplicity. And we're just iterating on that. And then also, we're partnering with more partners to add even more features and functionality.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the apps. So there are many the apps now are being built on Cosmos, liquid staking, for example, being one of the many. Did you spot any, I guess, up and coming trend or popular the apps, or maybe some the apps that are in early stage that are not popular yet but have the potential to, I guess, transform the industry? Did you witness anything like that?
I think the Cosmos Millions that I mentioned a bit earlier was interesting. I think some projects around just being able to stake Bitcoin and using Bitcoin to validate the Cosmos networks, or same with like staking Ethereum. There's a lot of interesting stuff around that. I've seen some DApps that were using AI to audit smart contracts, or using zero knowledge proofs to like help scale and keep the network private. So I'd say there is a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of developments happening.
Got you. Um, I guess my last question is the key takeaway, and especially for those who couldn't attend the event, what do you believe will have the most significant impact on the Cosmos community going forward that you would like to share?
I think the biggest thing, well, the biggest announcement was about Circle bringing USDC through Noble. So giving a lot of that's going to give a lot of Cosmos chains access to like more stable coins, or like like a very good stable coin, because USDC is like a very reputable, very like audited, trusted stable coin. So we'll see more products built out around that, around stable coins. It's also what like people want, because people want to hold in stables. It's risky to hold in like crypto assets, so it's definitely a very strong use case there. But I would say the key takeaway is that there's a lot more applications being built and a lot more infrastructure being built. And so we're probably going to see over the next few months a lot of those launches and a lot of new types of products, which could kind of form the backbone of the next bull run. Like all of the DeFi products that were part of the bull run of 2021 and 2020, like they all came out in 2018. Like Uniswap was around in 2018, Compound was around in 2018, Aave was around in 2018, and it was around in 2019, and it just kind of existed. Like they were there, like they were building away at it. They were getting some users, but not too many. It wasn't until 2020 that it finally got the attention, and then it got hyped, and then it had the bull run. So I think we're going to see those projects popping up around now, especially on like the DApp end. But so the narrative might not be clear. Like, what will the next big narrative be? Whether it's like real world assets, or um, liquid staking, or maybe something that we don't, or NFT lending, or maybe something we don't even know the word for yet. Like the category hasn't been defined yet, but those projects are around now. And so I think like getting to know them early on is you're only going to be able to do that by attending these conferences, right? Because they're not super famous on Twitter, or they're not being mentioned in these news publications or in these newsletters. Like they're there at the conferences, walking around, meeting people, making connections, closing their next round, shipping products. So I think it is, if you have the ability to go to a blockchain conference nearby, I would definitely do it. Like I think there's no substitute for that and the impact that it can have, or what you can learn and the insights you can get.
Sounds like a successful event. That's great. Kava is also bringing USDT into Cosmos, so there's definitely lots of happening in the industry that could potentially change the liquidity game. As a final words, I would like to open the floor to our listeners today. If you've got any questions you want to ask Eric, please feel free to speak. Raise your hand, I'll get you on the stage, but also feel free to post your questions in the comment and we can address it as well. So give it a couple seconds if you want to kind of think about what kind of question you want to ask. And if no, I guess we'll just end it here today. Eric, did you have anything else you would like to share as final thoughts?
No, that was the final thing that I wanted to get across is just the importance of conferences in your own journey of exploring and navigating the blockchain space.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, everyone. We hope to see you next time at the Cosmoverse.
Thank you,
Bye
guys.
bye.